what does the evolution of being a woman in the military look like in your experience?
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be a woman, but it's another thing to be a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
The first day on base, my commander, female commander, introduced me as a Black new lieutenant. That was her introduction. I would like to introduce you to my new Black lieutenant.
Welcome to the Degrees of Success podcast. I'm your host, Frida Richards, and today we have an incredible guest, Dr. Shirley Dominick. Dr. Shirley Dominick is a retired Air Force officer, a successful entrepreneur, and the driving force behind Willing Warriors. She's on an incredible journey that includes marking her faith, her determination, and an unwavering commitment to service. She's a true inspiration, and we're so happy to have her here on the podcast. Dr. Shirley, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Frida. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Of course, we're so excited to have you. And what I didn't say is that you were a University of Phoenix alumni.
Yay!
Yay!
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, we want to jump right in and talk about your foundation and where it all started. So tell me about your childhood. You grew up on a farm without water, and you're one of 11 children.
Yes, that is absolutely true. You know, looking back and really kind of seeing where we are today and realizing not having running water is kind of earth-shaking to me, but that's where we started.
Wow.
And so growing up on a farm there in South Carolina with 11 children, 10 siblings, we were farmers, and our life was very, very simple. The parents that surrounded us with, we say faith, having us in church on every Sunday, making sure that core values, the morals were there. The community helped raise us because my dad he was one of 14 children. So having that community right around you, that you can walk across the street and sit there on the porch with grandma, and grandma, of course, has a well over there. And everything was just so basic and so free and so clean, if you would.
How did that regimented schedule and expectation from your mother and family, how did those values align as you've moved through your career?
Mom picked me to go to town with her and had no idea that one trip to town would change my entire life. So I go into town with her. We went to Piggly Wiggly shopping, and I walked in and I saw this amazing, beautiful Black female with a blue uniform on. And literally she was walking like she'd owned the store. And I followed this lady. I followed her from aisle to aisle. I even forgot I was there with my mom. Literally forgot. Had no idea what military was, had no idea about uniform. But I was inspired to go to the library that Monday morning and find out, what branch of service, where did this lady come from? And I discovered that she was Air Force. And it was that time I decided that I would be in the Air Force.
I love it. And you refer to that as your aha moment.
Oh, 100%. It was truly my aha. And the thing about it, though, we had a TV in the house at some point, but it was very strict as to, we're going to watch the news, which we hated, we're going to watch maybe one TV show, but we just didn't have access to anything that would show me military or show me anybody of a model that would captivate my mind.
Right.
But this one trip changed, it really changed my world.
Tell us about that process. So tell me about you enlisting and and the way that you worked through your career.
I know that the day that I graduate, I was going to be in the Air Force. And so I went to the recruiter's office. I took the test to get in, and they were ecstatic because I had a strong background in math. I love math, and so I did well on the math test. And this recruiter looked at me, and he said, "The Air Force wants you." And I said, "My dream is here. I want the Air Force." I cannot get in touch with the recruiter. Nobody is answering the phone. My mom said to me, what are you going to do? You're graduated already. You need to figure out life. And so I ended up going to college. My first day on campus, I saw someone in a blue uniform. Had no idea about ROTC. And I went up to him and asked him about the military, what uniform he was in. He told me about the program. And he said, if you are smart in math, you could probably get a scholarship. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty good at math. I took the test, and sure enough, I got a full scholarship. And that's what led me into becoming an officer.
Right.
But God had a plan that was so different. And so that led to my 22 years in the Air Force as an officer.
Oh, so you got to experience your dream for 22 years.
It was quite a ride.
I imagine. So I also know, so my mother was in the military. She's recently retired just last year.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And she said that the relationship, like the way that women are treated and men are treated, could be a little different. It's changed throughout the years since she's been there since she was 19. She just retired at 60. So, so it's definitely evolved. Tell me about that. What does the evolution of being a woman in the military look like in your experience?
Yeah, I think it's one thing to be a woman, but it's another thing to be a Black woman, because you have it almost like you got strikes against you walking in. Yeah, it's no one is going to say it, but it's real. My first assignment, the first day on base, my commander, female commander, uh, introduced me as a Black new lieutenant. That was her introduction. I would like to introduce you to my new Black lieutenant. That was painful. Why did she have to say that? And so we sat with her that afternoon and just wanted to air what we felt was offensive.
Yeah.
And that caused our career to go completely down because she thought that, you should not question me. Her answer to us was, "You are Black, aren't you?" And we never could get on the same page. And our relationship, our career was made very difficult early on because just trying to ask basic questions, trying to get a better understanding as to that statement. As a farm girl, we just weren't educated to that world, the real world. Now you in there and you have to have a different fight, or not knowing how to fight because the command is different. You have a position, you stay in your position. You don't speak out against anything. You're not authorized to do that. And so it was a struggle, in both directions, female and being, Black. And so looking back, I think about the pain that one person in one generation may have to take for the next generation to be able to propel. And I know others that had to do the same for me to even be in the military as a Black female. And so there was definitely some growth. But I would say too, along the way, as a person, it causes you to either, get tough in the race or you die. And at some point, for me, it was, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to have to be in the fight, and I'm going to have to win through all of this. And so for every one of those pain, there's growth if you allow yourself to do that.
What would your advice be to other Black women in the military?
I have to think beyond myself. Where you see the pain for you today, what about tomorrow? Can I fight through this? And when you decide that I'm not necessarily looking at me, but I'm looking at future, the fight becomes different. It's not necessarily about me anymore. It is now about what I can pass on, how I can pay this thing forward, because we have certain rights, inalienable rights, that were fought for us to have. Why don't we? We're talking basic.
Right.
And so I would say stay to the course, do it for the future.
That's excellent advice. And I can tell you that I couldn't align with that thought more. I know that everything I do, I'm standing on the shoulders of my grandmother, my great grandma, my mother, and so on and so forth. My grandmother was in the streets when they were, fighting for civil rights. They were doing the hose,
Oh, yeah.
And so I love what you said. Stay focused on the goal.
Absolutely.
You were at the military for 22 years, and then you retire 22 years later. Tell me about those next steps.
To be able to retire, my thought was, okay, I would retire and I'm finally going to be that mom that could be there for my 3 children. Not that I wasn't before in the military, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I could be there, be the mom, be the wife, do all the stuff around the house, Betty Crocker, whatever. My world changed. You retire, and one of the things that caused a huge shift was my mom pretty much died on her way to my retirement. And my life had changed. So my last conversation with my mom was that she was going to move in with us. She was going to move from South Carolina, and we're going to move from Boston to Virginia. And we'd had the house, being built, and she was going to be moving in with us. And then she died. And so it had jilted me to a point that it took me a long time to put things in perspective. Now, my mom is not here. After all this time, my mom is not here. I'm trying to be a different mom, a mom in a different way. So I find myself getting very depressed, literally depressed, because, and the reason I can reflect back on it, when I see that boxes were sitting for months, I couldn't even, didn't know how to move them, didn't know where to go with them. I did something kind of out of the box. I thought I'd volunteer at my little one's school. She was in elementary school at the time, and maybe I just help with the children. I'll do that, and basic little coloring assignment. I wasn't interested in. I just couldn't do it. And then I began to realize that there is something going on here that's probably more than I want to realize.
Right.
And so, but that took me to looking at opportunities outside of the house again to get myself out. And I started working for Verizon, as a contractor for the government. And then shortly after that, starting my IT company. And then, of course, being led to this nonprofit, which was a whole different world for
Definitely.
me.
But it's aligned with who you are as a person, which is a servant leader and caring and giving to others. So that makes great sense. But I don't want to skip over your IT company. So tell me about that journey. So you work for Verizon as a contractor.
Yeah, I did that for 3 years, and I had an opportunity now to to go out on my own. And it was a scary thing because, being in the military, you were protected and everything kind of, teed up for you. And then now you are going into the company owner contracting world for yourself. Uh, it was just a different feel for me. Yet I realized that it was that time. It was like God opened a door for me. So why not step in that? And it's faith again to see what happens.
Well, I can
And so
understand you
truly
being
again,
fearful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
yeah.
you,
Oh,
but I can understand you
no,
being
absolutely.
fearful going from military to civilian life. And in the
Mm-hmm.
military, it's so much community. It's
Oh, yeah. Oh,
people,
yeah.
and that it reflects similar to your childhood where you have
Mm-hmm.
10 other siblings and you
Everybody.
guys are all focused on the same goal, led by your
Sure.
mother. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
as you leave the military, you leave that large community, the leader of your original community passes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
still trying to find the identity of who you are as a mother, trying to expand
Still.
that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which as
Mm-hmm.
mothers,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we all do. We're always trying to be
Yeah.
better and bigger and stronger for our children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then to have your mother gone and your
Mm-hmm.
community
Mm-hmm.
gone all at the same time, going
Yep.
into civilian life, it just had to be earth shaking.
Yeah, it's just different. You're kind of, silo. You realize that, gosh, you know what? I'm it. I'm the busboy. I am the secretary. I am, well, yeah, yeah, finance. You're it.
Right.
And so I've learned the value of small business, and the fact that I take nothing for granted because you know, there's a price for everything to move. And so, you know, I admire those that are in small business and I appreciate great relationship. Is that, and the connectivity that we get now. We said we have a different family now, a small business family. And then now when I sit with other companies. I say, I don't need 50 companies, to work with. I need 5 good ones that we can trust and we can call family and work together.
Absolutely, that community is it's so important, and relationships in business is obviously essential to be successful. Tell me about your actual business. Tell me what it is that you all do.
Yeah. Yeah, so we do. I said IT support for the government. Most of our work is in the Intel community, and we focus on 4 main areas: cybersecurity, cloud computing, data analytics. So your data, you'll appreciate some of that. And then a whole smattering of what I would call your IT support, all your system engineering, network engineering, telecommunications, you name it, we do under that umbrella. But we're 8A certified, of course, woman owned. We have, we, of course, woman owned, and then we have a number of certifications behind us, as well as a GSA mass schedule.
That's incredible. So you're a veteran, you're a mom, you are an entrepreneur, and then in the midst of all of this, you get another degree at University of Phoenix. How are you balancing all of these things?
That was kind of, crazy. I think sometimes we strive with pressure. It's like you strive, and it's amazing how much you can get done in 24 hours. You
True.
just you drive to do it. And I say that, but I can't say it without having a armor of support around me because out of the 11 of us, my 10 siblings, 9 of us are in the area. I have 42 nieces and nephews. So I have an armor of people, and my husband is like completely supportive. And so everything we do, it's not just me, it's like a team of people that make life better. so that I could do this. They were there for me, and I was able to to get my doctorate degree at the University of Phoenix. It was just a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. So you're going to have to tell me more about your experience here at University of Phoenix, because I know that with balancing a company at this point, how long had you, when you started your degree, how long had you had the new company?
I started back in 2006, officially January 2006. So I had just started the company probably about the same time. Actually about the same time, because I graduated in 2008. So I started University of Phoenix prior to the company starting, but jumping in there and just making things happen.
Oh my goodness. Tell me what your doctorate is in.
It's in management, organizational leadership.
Organizational leadership. So you have a DBA or a DM?
Yeah, DM.
You have a DM.
DM.
Just pushing through. I mean, you had
No.
a family marriage. You just retired. Your mother's passed. You are still number 4 out of 11. And I know that in itself has a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah.
Right? Like I imagine.
Absolutely. That's what you do, right? Mm-hmm.
And then you have these 3 babies. So, and I heard you say that your children also have advanced degrees. So tell me about your kids.
Yeah. So what's interesting there, so they are, and I say kids, now they're grown. So my youngest is actually 31, and then the middle one's 33, and then 35. So imagine having 7 sisters, 3 daughters, 3 granddaughters, and number 4 granddaughter will be here Thanksgiving. So, so
Yes.
we're the girl world. I think that's what we're going to call ourselves. But we did have a grandson in May, so he's 6-month-old Giannis, and so they are all very. When I say creative people, my middle daughter is a high-end fashion designer. Um, she been traveling across the world. She does, I mean, you name it, but she has her own company, and she's the one. She has the 3 girls. There are 4, 3, and 1,
Wow.
and then we'll have the 4th girl Thanksgiving. So, but they have their careers going. My youngest daughter, she's a videographer. She's been working for the Army for the last 4 years. I finally got her back in February to start working for my company, Agile Business. And so she's like my right hand now working with my company. But she has her own company going as well, doing her videography type work. And then my oldest, who just had the first boy, and she's working in the Intel community, but she's doing more web development, graphic design, all that creative stuff that
Yes.
one would have. And I often say, gosh, well, my children, please, where are the doctors? Where are the engineers? How are you going to make money? You are, and in fact, I sent them all. There was a beautiful article that outlined the 10 worst degrees to have. And my 3 children had the top 3. I was like, oh God.
Oh my goodness.
Seriously? I think we're going to have to work for the rest of our lives. Gosh.
My goodness. Okay, well, you're going to have to tell me the top 3, because I can almost guarantee you that I have one of them.
Yes. Yeah. So the top 3, the number 1 is a degree in art. My oldest daughter have an art degree. Like, I see why they call it starving artist. There was a reason behind all that. But she had flipped that and turned it into graphic design, web development, and she's doing extremely well. I was like, okay. And then you got another designer, the fashion designer, which, okay, everybody want to draw and cut little dolls and, all that, but how do you make that a business, and like she literally had propelled, like literally blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the videographer is it's interesting how the paradigm have shifted, because now everything is about the media. How can you make me look, and how fast can you get it out, and
Mm-hmm.
so it just fell right into that videography world that my daughter loved. So they're all doing well. I have literally no complaints. They're not hearing me talk about being a doctor or engineer anymore. You all are doing well, okay?
Who was that inspiration for you?
I would say my mom.
Yeah.
My mom's been my inspiration for sure. Just looking back to see what she had to do to not only raise the 11 children, but my mom worked outside of the home. And when I say she was a school bus driver, she also did teacher's aid, and she also had a upholstery business. So she was an entrepreneur.
For
She
sure.
was gonna how do you do all this? Well, she taught me to sew when I was, I don't know, 2 years old. She brought everybody to the table.
She has a working farm of cucumbers and cotton and many more items, which I imagine she then sold in town.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, absolutely. We would take it to the market, and I said my dad would, yeah, that's how we made life.
So, and then she also sewed and had other entrepreneurial. So, your mom was a superhero. Clearly,
Yep.
what's her name?
Lucille.
Lucille. I'm going to call her Miss Lucille because that's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
So Miss Lucille was an entrepreneur. So like prior to anyone really like having a hustle or a grind, like she literally had a farm that she had her 11 children working on, a sewing business.
Yeah.
She was a bus driver.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And still managed 11 children. I have 2 babies at home, and that in itself is a lot.
Here's what I just had a thought of my mom coming to spend 3 months with me when I was in Boston, my last assignment, and the children at the time were probably 8, 6, and 4. If I had to take a guess, but I remember my mom looked at me one day and she said, "Shirley, you're doing things wrong." Like, thanks. When you're doing all you can do, and your mom is saying you're doing things wrong, what?
Right.
And part of me just saying, "What's now? What else?" And she said, you're talking to those children too much. You're saying things repeatedly. And I was like, whatever. And so I'm looking over at the middle one, and I said she'd probably been 6 at the time, and I said, go clean your room, cut the TV off, and she just kept looking at the TV.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And so I took the remote, cut TV off, and she looked at me and she said, "Mom, why did you do that?" I was going to clean the room.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom point was well taken. You need to say it once, and they need to know that you really mean that. It's not, and I think that's because we get busy, and after a while you just give in and you even forget that the TV was on. I don't even care, just whatever. So that's just how we do things. But no, her point was well taken. We're saying it.
And I imagine being in the military is where it birthed in you the desire to take care of, and I imagine that you've seen a few things within your 22 years of service, which again, thank you so much for your service.
So grateful.
But I imagine that's where the heart for your incredible project, Willing Warriors, came from. I also know that there was a 40-day challenge. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's it's very. And when I think of 40 now, I have a different perspective because our pastor wanted us to go out into the small group. And at that time is really, when I say small group, the church was still in a schoolhouse. So, those small groups that had been developed, since 2003, 2006, now it's time for you to step out of the four sides of these walls and just do something for the community and come back and tell us after 40 days what the impact, and I often think about what that 40 days meant for us because we, the small group, about 10 of us, decided that we would go to Walter Reed to visit the wounded warriors. And honestly, I was somewhat reluctant because I'm not a hospital type person. I'd rather, help in another direction, but I figure, it's only one trip. We'll be good. And so going there in 2006, and so trying to put a framework around it. So imagine being there at the Malone House where a lot of the warriors were being, they were recovering from, all kinds of different situations, some of them were, of course, physical, but a lot of mental, the post-traumatic stress and, the traumatic brain injury, just literally struggling with family situations. They were all there. And the place was packed around Christmas time. So you can imagine that whole kind of festive type look and feel. This group is waiting on us to have this, to visit with them. And, we got there around 3:00. We had the event started at 4:30. We had 50 gift bags with us. They were full of toiletries, necessities, things like that. And then we had a $25 gift card that came from Walmart and Target. And so 50 gift bag, we figured, well, you know what, make our first run. I think we're going to be good. One of the girls in the group, she knew someone from Domino's Pizza. And they decided that, you know what, they would love to deliver pizza while we do this, kind of make it like a little party. And I'm thinking, this is a pizza party, And so,
Yes.
but here we are there at 3:00. And at 4:00, I'm looking around and everything we had was gone. The 50 gift cards, the pizza was gone. And I'm saying we hadn't even started this party yet.
Right.
Why are we here? Why we need to pack up and leave? Everyone was having a conversation with warriors. 3.5 hours later, we couldn't pull the group from the Malone House. They did not want to leave. Nobody wanted to leave. I remember coming back from Walter Reed, which is about an hour and a half from where I live, and no one said a word. It was like the truck was silent. Didn't know what to say. I'd never seen anything like it personally. And I said, I served for 22 years. I'd never seen a group that hung on to strangers.
Right.
And so we got home and pulled up in the garage, and my husband looked over and he said, we got to do more. Fast forward 2011, Christmas time, we're now at 500 plus gift bags. At some point there was a wounded warrior that had a vision of a place. Had no idea where the place was. Shortly after we established the nonprofit, he told us about his vision. I remember, I tell people now, I know when you feel restless, really feel restless, because something happened that night. I got up and I remember things that he was saying. He said there was a house. He said it was on 77 acres. And he said it was surrounded by trees. It's on a mountain. And you could see hills. And there's a black fence. And he was very specific things. And I got up that morning, 4:00, and I kid you not, I Googled 77 acres, Virginia. And this house showed up. It was 4.2 miles from my house. 4.2 miles.
4.2 miles.
From my house. And so
Oh my
I
goodness.
didn't tell my husband, but I just went on that morning about 8 o'clock, and I remember just getting to the foot of the property, and what really got me was he mentioned there were horses. He mentioned black fence. I remember key things that he said, and I pulled up and there was a black fence. That concerned me. But what more concerning was 4 horses literally came toward my car. The Washington Post came and they did a spread on the entire event. There was a guy out in Fairfax, 20 minutes away. He wrote a handwritten letter to the retreat. He saw the renderings in the paper and he said, I recognize that house. He said, I lived there with the Langs. I was the adopted son. And he went through and told how the Langs were just giving people. He said, I know my Uncle Lang is dancing in heaven right now because when he was in the military, in the Navy, he served wounded warriors.
That is incredible. I know that you referred to it as the destiny aspect, and I can see exactly how that aligns because from what I'm hearing you say, you were meeting with another wounded warrior and he was giving you his vision.
I just believe that there are certain things that you supposed to do, that you were designed to do. And I think we all have a call to do something. We may not even know what that is, but if we listen, it's something about existing. And then again, what are we listening? Are we really listening? When we bought this 11,000 square foot house, built 1977, needed all this work, the best that my husband and I could even muster up was, we'll try to get some, I don't know, some furniture from the Goodwill. We'll try to, we're just thinking about as much as we could think. But the community came in and said, let's tear down the walls. Let's make it handicap accessible. Let's do this. They came from everywhere. Now it's more of an offering that we can put out there and say, you want to give back? Here's what you can do. Now children come with their parents. Parents are making sure that they're integrated into giving back. Those that have lost loved ones saying, you know what, I feel now I can do something for somebody else. It becomes a win-win and win, for everybody. So we had the first house, had no idea that we were going to have a second house, and PenFed Foundation gave us $300,000 in seed money. The community came behind that. They put another $400,000 of work on top of that pro bono, and got the second house. And the third house, they gave us another $500,000 to do what we call the Grand Lodge. And when I say Grand Lodge, you've got to come and see what we call Grand Lodge. We had no idea this was going to happen. And so we did a ribbon cutting on the Grand Lodge in May. And so the beauty of this Grand Lodge, though, is since we had our ribbon cutting in July 2015, we have been able to have over 2,500 warriors and family come through that retreat. And so this gives them that battle buddy, that connection that they really need. But the community have played such a huge role in making this happen.
That has been a constant for you in your life, from the community of having a large family to the community of the military. And then even in your civilian life, you have your community in your business where you are, partnering with people that you are close to and that you trust. And then you start this incredible community. You said over 2,500 plus have been touched with these incredible homes. Can you give me an example or tell me a story of one of the warriors that you assisted?
We had a group of warriors that had not seen each other in over 10 years. They have now, some have families, they have children, spouses, whatever. And here we are where we have a laundry list of activities for these warriors to select from. One of those things would be, or would you like to have a pastor to come and just talk with you? And so it was checked all along. And so I said to the pastor at my church that we have a group of warriors there and they'd like a visit. So a visit that we offer all of them, but this group of warriors want a visit. I told the pastor about it and he sent one of the pastors. But along the way, as this pastor was leaving the church, there was a Marine person that was helping out for the day at church. And he said, well, what are you up to this afternoon? Would you like to go with me? And told him where he was going. Absolutely. They go to the retreat there, supposedly a 30-minute visit. They were there for more than 4 hours.
Wow.
It was such a heartwarming visit for them, and it was an outlet. They felt safe. And so I got a call from the pastor as he was leaving. He said, I've never had anything like this. And I wonder what would have happened if I did not grab this Marine on my way out, because he was the one that brokered that conversation.
Right.
And so it become healing at the end of the day for these warriors and their families to finally get to a point where they have an outlet. They can have a space for conversation and then heal in the process.
That's incredible. You've gone from hospital visits to the retreats to the 3 homes. What was your overall goal? What is your overall feeling and power and drive in Willing Warriors?
So the drive now is to save not just a warrior, but save that generation. Because when you lose a warrior, you lose generation. 22 a day is now one less.
That is powerful.
We have a job to do every day, like every day.
Your work is so important.
For sure. I think that's what gets me out of bed, because there is one more that I could help, one more that the community wants to help. And we find them and we make it happen for them.
We will make sure that even as you were saying that, we'll have the website for people to find and to reach out, and for warriors to find that community, because to your point, their life has purpose.
Yeah.
And you are giving them the opportunity to heal.
Very,
and we
very
are so
important.
grateful for that.
Yeah, very important. Very important. They just need to know.
Absolutely. So what's next?
What I see now is an opportunity for us to, if you would call it franchise, to other places across the country. And so the thought would be that we would franchise what we're doing here.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you to jump on expanding your vision, where and what could they do to do that?
I would say contact us through the website, willingwarriors.org. Contact us, and we'll get you connected with the team.
I'm humbled by your servant heart. And I pray that one of these come to Arizona so I can serve, because that would be incredible, that I'd have the opportunity to serve people who have served me. But I want to give you the floor. The floor is yours. If there's anything that you want to make sure that our listeners or viewers hear and see you say, what would that be?
Yeah, I think for me now, at the age 64, and seeing some things along the way, 64 happened pretty fast. And I look at the next season of my life, and I think sometime when we start looking back, that first, second portion of your life, it runs so fast. And I said, what would I have done differently? What impact could I have made? What would have changed? One of the things that I don't know if I see coming so fast is life. Life hits you, and all of a sudden, this season is gone. And for me, one of the things that I probably would be more mindful of is the opportunity to mentor, to see someone that just, there are so many, and I'm being more intentional now. I see a youngster that just, I can put, lock arms with and say, you know what, I, I, I've been there. I can provide some nuggets to this little one, and so wherever we are in our life, what does that end look like for us? And what do we be mindful of? What is it that we want to leave that will be an impact for life for someone else to hand off?
You can get so busy that life is just flying by. You don't even recognize it.
It flies by. I mean, before you know it, the children are, 5, 10, graduating from high school or college. And we're literally trying to run the basketball game, run the football game, so
Instead of being present.
you got to be present.
Yeah.
We really got to be present.
Be present. And then I heard you say, be present because life is moving fast, and then also serve.
Oh, 100% serve. And that present serve. Because you look at everything that you go through in life, we said why. If the why wasn't to grow you or for you to help somebody else grow, then we're left with an empty why. It's like that was, if there was a reason why we were taken through this, so that now we could better serve somebody else.
Absolutely. I mean, and a lot of that comes from the leader. They're definitely seeing your servant heart. So thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for spending this time with us.
Thank you.
And sharing this, incredible journey. And then, of course, this beautiful nonprofit that's literally saving lives. We have a very large veteran community at University of Phoenix. I actually just left the Veterans Day parade with our big University of Phoenix balloon, where we had the opportunity to celebrate.
Very nice. Yeah, so exciting.
Yes, we take great pride in that community and our students that have served or are serving currently. So thank you for your service and for serving those who have served. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you for joining us today, because I know you're also a very busy woman.
Oh, so honored to do it. I do appreciate it.
You were amazing.
You
Thank
too.
you so much for joining us
you.
and even spending this time with us.
Absolutely.
Somehow that brings us to the end of this episode of Degrees of Success. I am your host, Frida Richards. We are so grateful that you had the opportunity to join us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget that this next chapter just might be your best one yet. See you guys next time.